After finishing an intense workout, most people instinctively reach for ice-cold water. But does the temperature of your post-exercise hydration actually make a difference in how quickly your muscles recover? Recent findings from prestigious international sports medicine journals suggest the answer might surprise you. When you complete a workout, your body immediately begins a complex recovery process involving muscle fiber repair, inflammatory responses, and thermal regulation. Understanding how water temperature affects these processes could be the key to optimizing your recovery routine. What happens in your body after exercise? The moment you finish exercising, your body initiates an intricate healing cascade. Muscle fibers experience microscopic damage, inflammatory markers surge, and your internal temperature regulation system works overtime to restore balance. Research published in leading international exercise physiology journals shows that intense physical activity can elevate muscle damage markers like creatine kinase and lactate dehydrogenase by approximately 200 to 300% above baseline levels. While this inflammatory response is a natural and necessary part of muscle adaptation and growth, managing it effectively can significantly impact recovery time. A comprehensive study conducted by a world-renowned sports science institute revealed something fascinating about this recovery window. The temperature of fluids consumed immediately post-exercise appears to have a much more substantial influence on inflammation and recovery speed than previously understood. This discovery has led researchers at top-tier medical institutions worldwide to investigate the specific mechanisms behind temperature-dependent recovery effects, uncovering some remarkable insights about how our bodies respond to different hydration strategies. The science behind cold water recovery. A randomized controlled trial published in a prestigious international medical journal tracked two groups of athletes over 6 weeks. One group consumed water between 39 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit immediately after exercise, while the control group drank room temperature water. The results were striking. The cold water group showed approximately 30% faster reduction in muscle inflammation markers within 24 hours post-exercise. Key inflammatory cytokines, including interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha, decreased significantly more rapidly in participants who consumed cold water. The mechanism behind this effect relates to vasoconstriction and neural responses. When cold water reaches the gastrointestinal tract, it activates the vagus nerve and stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, causing systemic blood vessel constriction. This creates an internal cooling effect similar to external ice application, but working from within the body. Research from globally recognized medical centers has demonstrated that cold water consumption temporarily reduces blood flow to muscle tissue, limiting the accumulation of inflammatory substances at injury sites. Simultaneously, the cold stimulus appears to reduce pain perception through central nervous system pathways, leading to decreased subjective muscle soreness. Another study from an internationally acclaimed sports medicine research facility found that cold water intake enhanced the body's natural anti-inflammatory responses by stimulating the release of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that helps regulate inflammation and pain perception. Room temperature water benefits and limitations. What about room temperature water, typically around 98 degrees Fahrenheit? Comparative studies from world-class medical research institutions show that, while room temperature water effectively addresses basic hydration needs, it provides no additional benefits for inflammation reduction or recovery acceleration. Some research suggests that consuming fluids at body temperature may actually maintain elevated core temperature longer, potentially prolonging inflammatory responses. However, researchers emphasize that these differences can vary significantly based on individual fitness levels, exercise intensity, and personal physiology. Meta-analysis results from international multi-center studies highlight room temperature water's primary advantage: reduced gastrointestinal irritation. For individuals with sensitive digestive systems, room temperature fluids may prevent stomach discomfort or cramping that sometimes occurs with cold water consumption. Additionally, room temperature water may be absorbed slightly more quickly by the intestinal tract. Though this difference appears minimal in practical terms, and doesn't translate to meaningful recovery advantages, according to current research findings, measurable differences in recovery outcomes. When examining specific recovery metrics, studies published in top-tier medical journals reveal clear distinctions between cold and room temperature water consumption effects. Creatine kinase levels, a primary indicator of muscle damage, showed significant differences between groups. Cold water consumers demonstrated measurable decreases beginning at the 12-hour mark post-exercise, while room temperature water drinkers required approximately 24 hours to achieve similar reductions. Subjective pain scores also varied substantially. Double-blind research from a renowned sports medicine institute reported that cold water consumption groups experienced approximately 40% faster resolution of muscle soreness compared to room temperature water groups. Temperature regulation presented another interesting finding. Participants who consumed cold water returned to normal core body temperature about 25% faster than those drinking room temperature fluids, potentially accelerating overall recovery processes. Sleep quality measurements, tracked through both subjective reports and objective monitoring, showed modest improvements in the cold water groups, though researchers note this could be partially attributed to reduced discomfort, rather than direct physiological effects. Individual factors and practical applications. However, cold water isn't optimal for everyone. Large-scale cohort studies from internationally prestigious medical centers confirm that individual characteristics significantly influence the appropriate hydration temperature choice. People with sensitive stomachs or existing gastrointestinal conditions may find room temperature water safer and more comfortable. Additionally, individuals with cardiovascular conditions or blood pressure concerns should consider that sudden vasoconstriction from cold water consumption could be problematic. Age-related differences also emerged in research findings. Studies published in leading geriatric medicine journals suggest that adults over 60 may experience limited benefits from cold water consumption, while facing increased risk of digestive discomfort. Exercise intensity matters significantly. For moderate intensity activities, the recovery differences between cold and room temperature water appear minimal. However, following high-intensity or prolonged exercise sessions, cold water's anti-inflammatory effects become much more pronounced. Seasonal considerations also play a role, with some research indicating that cold water benefits may be more pronounced in warmer climates or seasons. When core body temperature elevation is more substantial. Optimal hydration strategy. Based on comprehensive research from leading international medical institutions, practical guidelines emerge for post-exercise hydration. Immediately following high-intensity exercise, consuming water between 39 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit appears most effective for reducing muscle inflammation and accelerating recovery. The optimal approach involves drinking smaller quantities, approximately 5 to 7 ounces every few minutes, rather than consuming large volumes at once. After the initial 30-minute post-exercise window, transitioning to room temperature water for continued hydration appears beneficial, providing adequate fluid replacement without potential gastrointestinal stress. Research from globally recognized sports medicine centers recommends monitoring individual responses carefully. If cold water consumption causes stomach discomfort, cramping, or other adverse effects, switching to room temperature fluids is advisable. Regardless of potential recovery benefits, environmental factors should also influence decisions. In extremely hot conditions, cold water may provide additional thermoregulatory benefits, while in cold environments, room temperature fluids might be more appropriate. The information presented here reflects current scientific research and may vary among individuals. Anyone with specific health concerns or persistent post-exercise discomfort should consult with medical professionals for personalized guidance.